All right, let's dive right into this explainer. What if I told you that you could completely transform your morning meal to effortlessly manage your blood sugar? And I'm talking about doing this just by tapping into the power of your body's natural insulin. If you've been struggling with your health metrics, this is going to be incredibly empowering for you. We're going to look at the top 5 foods you can easily add to your breakfast routine to wake up your body's innate healing abilities.
But first, we've got to start by addressing a deeply, deeply frustrating reality. You know the drill. You restrict your diet, you force yourself to cut out your favorite white rice, and honestly, you just feel guilty every single time you eat. Yet, despite all of that agonizing effort, your fasting blood sugar and your HbA1c, they just absolutely refuse to budge. You're probably living with this constant, heavy anxiety around food, thinking that every single bite is just going to push those numbers even higher. It's an awful cycle. But here's the absolute truth. The reason it's not working is because the fundamental approach we've all been taught is actually flawed. This brings us to a massive core shift in how we think about eating. The old paradigm is all about dietary subtraction, stressful carb cutting. But starving the body through strict subtraction actually weakens your natural healing. So we've got to pivot to a new, scientifically backed mindset, dietary addition, by adding breakfast superfoods. Think about it. Human bodies do not magically awaken their self-healing powers when we just subtract and restrict. Actually, extreme restriction causes nutritional imbalances that literally create a body where your insulin just stops working properly. The real answer? It's not more restriction. To control blood sugar, we need to add specific, scientifically proven foods to our morning routine. The data clearly shows that people who eat a robust breakfast have a much lower risk of diabetes. Basically, whoever controls breakfast controls their blood sugar. All right, let's start the countdown with number 5, Okinawa mozuku. Okinawa mozuku seaweed is a long-held secret to Japanese longevity, and it's an incredibly powerful dietary carbohydrate blocker. Now, you might be wondering, can a seaweed really lower my numbers? Well, the answer is a resounding yes. Historically, the people of Okinawa boasted some of the absolute highest longevity rates in the entire world, and mozuku was a massive foundational staple in their diet. The real secret here is a compound called fucodan. It's a water-soluble fiber that makes up 90% of the seaweed's slime, and it actively stops post-meal glucose spikes. See, when you eat carbohydrates, enzymes in your body, like alpha amylase, act like little scissors, chopping up the sugar so they can be quickly absorbed. Well, fucodan acts as a shield, directly blocking those enzyme scissors. Plus, that highly viscous, slimy texture, it literally puts the brakes on the speed at which food moves into your small intestine, physically delaying the absorption of sugar. Now, you might think, okay, I'll just eat regular kelp or wakame seaweed, but Okinawa mozuku is on another level. It contains an astonishing 5 times more fucoidan than regular kelp. To put that into perspective, just one small 40-gram pack contains about 1,080 milligrams of condensed fucoidan. And the clinical studies absolutely back this up. In a 12-week trial involving 70 pre-diabetic individuals, consuming the equivalent of this daily mozuku dramatically lowered glycated serum protein, which is a key indicator of blood sugar levels over time. Not only that, it dropped inflammation markers like interleukin-6 compared to a placebo group. So it's basically telling us the body is literally cooling down. So, I want to make this incredibly actionable for you. Tomorrow morning, try adding a splash of vinegar or citrus juice to your mozuku. Now, I know that might seem a bit strong for the morning, but that acidity is exactly what your stomach needs. It stimulates stomach acid and flips your digestion right into active mode. Just put some unflavored mozuku in a small bowl, add a squeeze of citrus or some vinegar, and maybe a few drops of soy sauce. It's a fantastic, super simple habit to kick off your day. Moving right along to number 4, whole eggs. This food actually tackles the hidden root cause of insulin resistance, which is fatty liver. But to accept it, we've got to completely debunk a piece of ancient nutritional dogma, the idea that eating eggs will raise your cholesterol. Dietary cholesterol does not dictate blood cholesterol. And frankly, avoiding eggs means you are missing out on a massive health benefit. The idea that eating an egg will instantly spike your blood cholesterol is, well, it's about as outdated as being told not to drink water while you're exercising. Actually, the Ministry of Health even removed the upper limit for dietary cholesterol intake because the science simply doesn't support those old fears anymore. By avoiding egg yolks, you're throwing away a golden opportunity to improve your blood sugar. The true savior here is a compound called lecithin. You see, high blood sugar isn't just about eating too many carbs. A lot of the time, it's because insulin isn't working right in your muscles and your liver. A huge issue today is something called skinny fatty liver. That's where even really thin people who don't even drink alcohol, have fat clinging to their liver, totally blocking their insulin function. Lecithin, which is an emulsifier found right in those egg yolks, acts like a heavy-duty soap. It mixes water and fat together to powerfully wash all that garbage out of the liver. Research shows that eating 3 whole eggs a day for 12 weeks significantly improved both lipid profiles and blood sugar control. Why? Because it clears out the liver so your insulin can actually do its job properly again. Building on that, let's hit number 3, Salacia tea. If you're looking for a perfect replacement for your morning coffee or green tea, this is it. If you don't have a strict morning beverage routine yet, Salacia tea is exactly what you should be reaching for. It has this fascinating history in places like India and Sri Lanka. For a long time, it was a highly guarded weight loss secret, exclusively reserved for royalty. I'm serious. In the traditional medicine system of Ayurveda, it was so deeply revered that they called it a miracle plant or the medicine of the gods. For centuries, regular folks couldn't even get their hands on it. But today, we finally have it at our fingertips, and modern science has completely validated its legendary status. Science confirms the magic through a unique compound called salicylic. Remember those enzyme scissors in our intestines we talked about just a minute ago? Well, salicylic specifically targets and blocks an enzyme called alpha-glucosidase. This means when you eat carbs, it literally prevents them from breaking down into glucose. So instead of being rapidly absorbed into your bloodstream and spiking your levels, those carbs are simply expelled. It's practically a natural carb-blocking medicine, and honestly, it's just amazing. And the data is crystal clear on this. In a study of 66 patients, taking just 480 milligrams of Salacia extract dropped the post-meal blood sugar curve by a staggering 22%. Here's a fun little fact for you. As our bodies age and our natural ability to metabolize sugar drops, we often naturally start craving herbs and spices. That is literally our bodies subconsciously seeking out these exact kinds of natural enzyme blockers. Now, Salacia tea can have a bit of a unique earthy taste, so if you're sensitive to that, just brew it slightly weak at first. Try aiming for about 500 to 600 milliliters a day, starting with a glass right when you wake up. Coming in at number 2, the Jerusalem artichoke. Now, despite the name, this is actually a type of chrysanthemum, not a starch-heavy potato. I know exactly what you're thinking. A potato to lower my blood sugar? Are you totally crazy? Because yeah, regular potatoes and sweet potatoes are mostly starch, which is pure carbohydrate. But the Jerusalem artichoke, which is known in Japan as kikuimo, is totally different. Its superpower lies entirely in a compound called inulin. Inulin is a highly fermentable, water-soluble fiber that completely transforms your internal gut environment to naturally regulate blood sugar. So the primary component here isn't a sugar at all, it's this fiber. And when it reaches your gut, your good bacteria basically treat it like an absolute 5-star premium feast. Let's break down this incredible biological chain reaction. Step 1, you eat the inulin, and it starts fermenting in your gut. Step 2, as the good bacteria feast on it, they produce these things called short-chain fatty acids. Step 3, those acids stimulate your intestines to release a hormone called GLP-1. Now, you might actually recognize GLP-1. It's the exact same hormone targeted by a lot of modern weight loss medications. And finally, step 4, that GLP-1 commands your pancreas to boost its natural insulin production. You aren't injecting artificial drugs here. You are naturally prompting your own body to create a little army of insulin supporters right in your gut. A massive meta-analysis confirmed that inulin intake clearly and significantly lowers both blood sugar and HbA1c. The best part? It's versatile. You can eat Jerusalem artichokes pickled, stir-fried, or just chop them up and chuck them right into a warm soup. And finally, drumroll please, our number 1 ingredient, red miso. This is a traditional staple that blocks sugar absorption simply by drinking it in a warm morning bowl. We are, of course, talking about red miso soup. Think about this. Our ancestors obviously didn't have access to modern scientific data or clinical trials, but they intuitively knew through massive amounts of empirical evidence that regular miso consumption was the bedrock of good health. In Japan, they literally had a famous proverb, "Pay the miso maker, not the doctor." They just knew it worked through sheer observation over generations. And today, modern science has finally caught up to prove them absolutely right. Modern science reveals that the big secret here is a compound called melanoidin. Basically, the longer the red miso ferments, the more of this powerful insulin-supporting pigment is created. It's actually the exact compound that gives red miso its dark, rich, brown color. It forms when the amino acids in soybeans react with sugars during fermentation. And just like that Salacia tea we discussed earlier, melanoidin has a super strong inhibitory effect on those alpha-glucosidase enzymes. It slows down the breakdown of carbs into glucose, wonderfully suppressing that nasty post-meal spike. Studies even show that eating white rice with a bowl of miso soup significantly lowers the glycemic index compared to eating that same bowl of rice entirely on its own. How cool is that?
So what's the big takeaway from this explainer? It's that you can actually combine all of these incredible super compounds into one ultimate, delicious morning meal that effortlessly controls your levels. Just imagine this. You start your day with a rich, warm red miso soup. You fill it with mozuku seaweed and Jerusalem artichoke, you have a side of whole eggs, and you wash the whole thing down with a refreshing glass of Salaccia tea. Think about what you're doing for your body. You've got melanoidin blocking sugar breakdown, fucoidan wrapping up the sugar, inulin prompting natural insulin support from your gut, and lecithin cleaning out your liver. It's like a perfectly orchestrated symphony that leaves absolutely no blind spots in your morning routine.
So it's time to stop blaming age, stop blaming genetics, ditch the stressful, agonizing dietary subtractions, and start healing yourself tomorrow morning with these powerful additions. There is absolutely no need to suffer through dark, restrictive diets where you just feel totally lost and deprived. By embracing the real science of true nutrition, you empower your body to heal itself naturally. So I'll leave you with this question. If your body is entirely made of what you choose to eat, which of these 5 superfoods are you going to add to your breakfast plate tomorrow morning to awaken your natural healing?